What is up, college football fans? What is up, Clemson Tiger fans? Happy Sunday to everybody. Welcome to Week 11 edition of State of the Fan Address for Clemson football. I wish I could tell you that it's a beautiful day here in the low country of South Carolina, but I'd be lying. As you can see, it's raining and cold as it was yesterday, both here in the low country and in the upstate of South Carolina, where our Clemson Tigers took on the Yellow Jackets in Death Valley. Of course, every day is a great day to be a Clemson Tiger, and every day above ground is a great day as far as I'm concerned. So, dominant win 2 weeks in a row. That's right, 2 weeks in a row. Dominant win over our opponent in Death Valley. Last week, Notre Dame. This week, Georgia Tech. Now, I already know, I can hear you typing it, and I've already heard you say it, some of you, not all of you. Well, big deal, Pete. Georgia Tech's a terrible football team. You're supposed to beat them that way. Yeah, you are supposed to beat them that way. But Clemson has lost games. They're supposed to beat them that way this year, too. So there is that. There was a lot of talk from a lot of people. I know you all heard it after the back-to-back losses, particularly after the NC State loss, the second loss in a row, that Clemson is in shambles. They're terrible. They may not even win another game. They may not make a bowl game. They're going to lose to Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, South Carolina, and North Carolina's going to blow them off the map, blah, blah, blah. All that talk is going out the window now, right? 2 dominant wins in a row. The last one was more impressive, I think, the one over Notre Dame, just because I think Notre Dame's a better team than Georgia Tech, and they dominated that game as well. But that tells you a lot about this team. It tells you a lot about this team. It tells you a lot about this coaching staff. Now, let's talk about this game in particular, right? Defense right now is playing on another level. And again, let's go back to Georgia Tech's terrible, Pete. You can't really take it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. They're playing on another level right now. Haynes King, for whatever you think about Georgia Tech as a football team, there's been several games this year that Haynes King and that Georgia Tech offense has made defenses that are decent look completely foolish. And he got pretty much shut down yesterday. Clemson forced 4 turnovers, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 turnovers. And the really interesting stat about the turnovers is they were all created by true freshmen. So the future of Clemson's defense looks bright. A lot of really good young players on this defense, and also a lot of really good young players on this offense. Before the season started, the biggest knock on Clemson, coming from last year into this year, is who's the guy at wide receiver? They don't have that guy. They don't have a Sammy Watkins. They don't have a Nuke Hopkins, right? They don't have that guy. Well, we're pretty sure we do have a guy that could potentially be one of those guys that I just mentioned. And that guy, of course, is Tyler Brown. The guy's an absolute stud. If you've been paying attention to Clemson football this season, true freshman Tyler Brown has shown that he is going to be a star, not just at Clemson, but nationally for at least the next 2 years to come, right? Again, yesterday he had a big game. He had the circus OBJ catch, touchdown, and all of that. Of course, he was the leading receiver yet again. But he played a great game, and I think Clemson is going to be just fine at wide receiver, led by Tyler Brown, and hopefully we get Antonio Williams back here sometime soon. And the two of them next season, if they can stay healthy, will be a dynamic duo, not to mention some other guys that are pretty good too on the team. The run game. The run game yesterday was also a question with Will Shipley coming back into the mix. Of course, he missed the game against Notre Dame. He's back in the mix this week with Phil Maffa having that amazing game against Notre Dame, 186 yards, 36 carries, 2 touchdowns. The big question was, are we going to revert back to the way it was before Shipley was hurt, and Shipley gets 20 carries, Maffa gets 8 or 9? No. Well, the situation in the game yesterday was a little bit different. Maffa was the leading rusher and did get more carries. Some of that had to do, I think, with the hit that Shipley took, where he got hit in the head. And I'm not going to rehash that anyway. He comes out for a series. They do end up putting him back in. But Maffa ended up getting more carries. But even if he hadn't got hit in the head and got taken out for the series, the carries would have been more even and balanced, which is all we've been asking for as fans. Not only this year, but last year. And that got misconstrued with some people that I think that Shipley is no good, and I think Moffitt is great. So bench Shipley and give Moffitt all the carries. I never said that. And I don't really think anybody that was calling for Moffitt to get more involved was saying that. What we were saying was you have what I consider to be a top-tier running back standing on the sidelines for the majority of the game, and more importantly, in big situations, in short yardage situations, inside the 5-yard line, and or just third and 1, 3rd and 2, or 4th and 1, 4th and 2 situation where Moffitt's standing on the sideline. It looks to me as if the coaching staff has finally figured that out. Is it a day late and a dollar short? I guess you could say that. We've got 4 losses. We're not playing for an ACC championship. We're not playing for a playoff spot, none of that. But we are trying to win out our last 4 games and then win out our bowl game, which we are eligible for now, which would be a great end to a very frustrating football season. So I'm glad to see that the coaches are making changes. Again, a day late and a dollar short, but better late than never. They're also making situational play calls that they were not making for the majority of the season, right? Some of the most bone-headed, head-scratching play calls, especially when the game's on the line in several games, overtime and whatnot, where they're in short yardage situations and they're passing the ball and Moffitt's standing on the sideline, or not even running Shipley, but or Cade Klubnik's doing the RPO and he's keeping the ball and running backwards. Look, I'm not going to rehash all that. But they've started doing something different now. You can almost know that when they're on a goal line situation or a very short 3rd or 4th down situation, they're handing the ball off to number 7 and he's converting. They should have been doing that all year, but hey, I don't know anything about football. I've never seen a football game before. So it does appear that they have taken that into consideration, and it's working. Cade Klubnik, he did throw an interception yesterday. We were this close, guys. We were this close to having a game without a single turnover. He did throw an interception. It wasn't a terrible interception. But on the bright side, though, 0 fumbles. Clemson this season has been one of the worst teams in the nation at putting the football on the ground, and almost every time they put the football in the ground, it turns into 6 points the other way. So that's a huge difference these last couple weeks. Moffitt did fumble last week against Notre Dame. But the fumbles are a lot less now. So they're protecting the football, and that makes all of the difference in the world in these games. So Clemson right now is playing their best football of the season. I know people are going to say you got 4 losses, and some of them, all of them, in my opinion, are to teams that Clemson is better than. Clemson shot themselves in the foot continuously over and over and over and over, and it got really frustrating early in the year. They've turned the corner now. Cade Klubnik does appear to me to be a different quarterback now than he was for the majority of the season. I think he's turned that corner, and that's great news leading into North Carolina and South Carolina, and then a bowl game now. So if we can, and into next season also. So all the Cade Klubnik people that were saying he's a bust, 5-star bust, he's trash, I think you're going to be proven wrong in the long run here. He still has some growing to do. He's not perfect, but he's definitely making better decisions and playing better. Also yesterday, he had positive rushing yards, where there's been a lot of games this season that he hasn't had positive rushing yards. He's had negative rushing yards. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's been under a lot of pressure. The pass blocking has been less than stellar for the majority of the season. They've shifted some linemen around, and it does seem to be working better now. Still not great, don't get me wrong, but the last 2 weeks, the offensive line has played the best two games of the season. So all in all, it's really just great to see that this team with such high expectations from the fans and I'm sure from the players themselves and the coaches and just nationally, had such high expectations, just heartbreak after heartbreak, loss after loss after loss stacking up. And a lot of teams with those high of aspirations that rack up 4 disappointing losses at that, would have gone into give up mode. This Clemson football team did not go into give up mode. They went the other way. Right now, I know the record is 4 losses. I get that. But right now, as of today, they are playing like a top 10 football team in the country. So, look, they got North Carolina next week at home. Then they go to South Carolina. I expect them to win both those games. They'll be favored in both of those games heavily. I don't know what the line is right now on the North Carolina game. It's going to be somewhere around 12 or 13, I would imagine. But, look, you can't just rest on what you've done the last 2 weeks. You got to go out there and repeat that. That's what great teams do, good or great teams do. So I do expect them to win out. So that's it. We'll see next week if Clemson can continue to play like a top 10 team. I believe that they can. Thank you, and have a great day, and go Tigers.